wait for Jerry's photogenic back to. There we go. Um,
Yeah.
cool. Well, anyway, welcome back, everybody, because I'm all for this. Although you'll have to forgive me, we have to do a little bit of retroactive work on the last bits of the last session just to kind of orient because I really wanted to get the Lucas announcement about their weird moral surgical procedure into play. But to do that, I played really fast and loose with where everybody was and when. And so I don't think we ever quite I don't think Hiver and Dukin ever got out of the the complexes, the discovered ancient complexes down below, and I am okay with them being down there. But I also, since we didn't really establish when everybody was relative to one another, who knows, somebody, half a day later, was somebody still, did this happen after you came back up? Are you coming back up? That kind of thing. That becomes the question. So I guess I'm asking. So for the two of your characters, where do you want to be? Do you want to still be down exploring the ruins? Is that the big priority for you? Do you want to have come up from your first venture there to discover what's going on? That's sort of the question I have for you.
Could it have happened concurrently, like as we're going down there? We could have gotten this news feed, and just because we've got the technology. We could all be in this meeting and still be doing our thing, or have some kind of weird telepresence where we're all sitting around as holograms as this thing is going on, but we're still in the cave because it could have happened.
All that is fine by me in a variety of ways. One element of this is that none of your species have all of your awesome technology available as on this delegation to this ruined system, but something of the sort could be the case. And again, this isn't a problem we have to solve. This is just a question of what you want to do. I'm okay with however.
Right. So yeah, I'm fine for still being in the mines.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, now, I guess so. I guess my worry is always that, which is Renee's worry, not so much, I think, Dukin's worry, but that I've yet to interact. It just seems like it's been me and Hiver, and I kind of wanted to pull it. Feel like we kind of just left our poor Avix out there alone.
Doing fine, making friends. Don't worry.
From a sort of group play circumstance, you can certainly wiggle things to get back together when and how you want, if you can.
Right.
And I actually thought that brings up something else, however, because the Hive has generated a new representative, a new Hive spokesperson who isn't either of you, although of course heavily influenced by influences, and that individual would certainly be present at the get together that I'm talking about, I think. So the question then becomes, to what degree is there a communication between you and them? I actually kind of wish we had talked about this before, so that if you had extra words, you could write something in about it if you wanted to, or you could look at some of your traits and see if they actually do imply, you certainly have the justification. The reason I say this, you certainly have the justification in the story itself to have some kind of link with that individual. I mean, some of the
Right.
Dukin's freakier traits may actually jump out at us as, oh, look, well, of course I'm connected, who knows? So that's up to you to see if you wanted to utilize such a thing so that there's some kind of contact there.
Ooh, actually, look at my character sheet, see if I have anything on there now.
I was wondering if there was something like, all the hive is one or something like that. I didn't review the character story myself.
I seem to remember something like that.
Something like what?
Some sort of unifying or unitary statement regarding the hive as such. We are the hive. The hive is one. That kind of thing.
Yeah, let's see. How to equip to fill the hive is to fill all hivers the propel. I don't have anything like that on there now. Well, let me look. Hold on. No, nothing like that yet. But we are, we all are about togetherness and the function of the hive, which, will probably end up being a sentence later on once we get our additional 15 points. Mm-hmm. Actually, you can see how that will work. Stuff. Okay. Yeah, let me look. Stuff. But no, I don't see anything yet, but I'm sure it's in there, or it will be.
So I also wanted to review where everybody was in light now of the knowledge that the two of you are still downstairs. So in the AVIX base, which on the ruined city map that I have posted again, is located at number 14. That's where the AVIX little floaty habitat is that they use. And remember, you have permitted the Scrang to go there. I am imagining, remember, it's set up for avian beings. And so, as I mentioned before, there's no way to get from level to level. When the Scrangs ask where the bathroom is, somebody casually points over there, up there, and the Scrang kind of look at each other and.
Sorry, need a lift.
So so who knows? I can think of several solutions, but so a certain amount of accommodation is they're trying to figure that out. Now, where else? In that map, if you look at area 11, you'll see that the numeral 11 is in the middle of an area. If you go to the right from 11 and there's this circular structure, that's the same as the circular structure that we've been using as our primary map for the big area that was a big cargo hangar that's been converted by the Scrang originally. Now, at the moment, the individuals who are kind of running that area or have moved in the most in that area are the Thrall. They're the ones who had kind of taken up residency in that area originally. And so they're kind of, they've got a physical, we live here presence in a kind of camping, temporary way, like everybody.
Ron, yeah. I'm sorry, the number you said when you talked about the AVIX quarters, I only got half of it.
Sure, 14.
14, thank you.
And then the Hiver area is 15. And I gave out a little map of the Hiver HQ already. And now, of course, it is not at the moment, but Dukin is now effectively staying there. And then who else are we looking at here? Yes, in 13 is where the Voir and the Issaw had set up their original habitation space. most of the rest of the numbers I have on my little key, but none of your characters are all that educated about it. Although it's easy to find things out, or it's easy to go places. To go out into these ruins isn't very hospitable to any of your species and would require some, depending on the species, different degrees of life support to do it. So each of your habitats is optimized for your species. The general area that I talked about before is uncomfortable for everybody, but at least compatible. And then going out and about in the ruins is dangerous. There, you have the technology to deal with it, but you would have to use it. And that should give you the context, I think, for the above ground areas. Now, remember how the underground areas are like this big cone that's drilled down, getting narrower and narrower into the earth? Well, its super circle at the top, its biggest extent at the top, is actually under most of this map. So it's really big.
Right. Okay.
And then I think that's to review a couple of other things. The majority of the Luca are now in the orbital station, and as you know from the Scrang, they seem to have kind of taken it over and not let the Scrang back on. And 3 of them are present down here on the planet, making their case, making their suggestion to everybody. And I think that accounts for just about everybody. There are details about some of the other groups that are not yet apparent to you, but to your knowledge, that's where everybody is housed. You do know, too, that there are rotating and multi-species teams of security / explorers. They're trying to stay, everybody's trying to stay very organized about going into the underground areas. Although, as I recall, Hiver and Dukin were a little bit unofficial in their venture. So that leads then. I'm going to say that there is a connection to both Dukin and Hiver with the Hiver ambassador. But that once you go underground like this, it becomes less reliable. So therefore is subject to unannounced interruptions.
Okay.
Depending on, I don't know. I mean, I won't just do it out of the blue, but if there's like a failed roll or something, that's sort of available to, call upon as some source of adversity. And that, I think, I think also the Avix are not physically attending the events with the Scrang and the Luca. Have made Nizan and Loto very nervous. So all of the interactions with the Avix are now being done by screen. So they have screens up, and that's how they're interacting with all the other groups right now. OMAC is very distrustful of what everybody else is up to. Been a few too many changes over the last hours, and
Killjoy.
And so everything's being handled remotely by the Avix at this time. And besides, you have all these Scrang to deal with, and that's very, people are still skeptical and confused about that. Whew. Excuse me. Okay. I'm happy to take up with the two who are down in the ruins, and I'm also happy to take up with the discussion with the Avix of what on earth to do. The to review. Should I review the Lucas actions? And
I think they just announced that they think everybody should kind of operate on everybody else the way they did.
mm-hmm.
Because
well, they will provide the techniques.
Yes, certainly. Because that would solve all problems.
It would specifically.
But they didn't set a time frame or anything.
Well,
they didn't give details, right?
Let's talk about that, because there is effectively a time limit for everybody for this whole conference.
Yeah, for the conference,
right?
Per se.
And so this is sort of deemed as the way to bring the conference to a close. And the thing to point out is that everybody would have either their brains or their species equivalent, surgically altered so that the concept of winning is removed.
It didn't say what it was replaced by. Or did they?
Well, it's an interesting point. Again, they're dealing with an alien species. Translations are always tricky, but the important point is that it doesn't remove self-preservation. It doesn't remove violence. It doesn't remove ambition or desires for things. It just basically takes away the idea that winning is important. So the idea is that two cultures or individuals even could have a dispute over something, but it wouldn't be polluted by a secondary sense of competition. And that because the Luca have decided that that's the problem. People just don't. It's not that everybody doesn't want an end to the wars, but they still want to win them. Right. And or that if we can all stop fighting now, but you have to lose. You have to get screwed. Otherwise, I'm not happy. And so that's what the Luca are saying. It's like we are going to transform thinking life as we know it, galaxy-wide, from now on. We're just doing it. We're bioengineering all thinking beings. That's us. All the same way. No option. No debate. Although right here, this is their proposal. They are saying we've already done it. They said we just did it. So
their concept.
No, but they're also implementing it Luca wide.
So they say.
And then they're saying, this is the way. This is our proposal, and it's a very good proposal. In fact, it is fair, it is efficient, it is effective, which is a whole lot more than any of you have. So get to it. And no, they don't actually say, oh, and by the way, we own the space station, which is your only way off this planet.
Now you dropped, and that was probably important.
Right. Well, remember, they took over the Skrang's orbital satellite. And they don't mention this particularly, in any kind of negotiating way. They just kind of point out that it's kind of obvious to everybody that, the way you got onto this planet is now administered by the very same people making this proposal.
Yes.
So that is the Scrang's beam, that takes them up there. That's not working for them. So, it's whether the message was intended, that's certainly a significant piece of this suggestion.